Now you can see it, correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. All righty, we're moving into Module 2. So the handouts and links that you will need are on your digital handout where it says important links under Module 2. So you don't need to open anything yet, just wanted to direct you to where you need to go. So this module is about the partnership approach and principles, not the principal in your building, but the principles of partnership and strengthening the coaching impact. So Module 2's learning targets are: I can define the partnership approach. I can identify effective partnership principles that support the coachee impact. I can explain the 7 partnership principles by Jim Knight. I can reflect on what partnership principles I value and practice when partnering with coachees. I can adopt effective partnership principles to guide my work with others as a reading coach. So today's learning aligns with Standard 6, and as you see in your handout links there for Module 2, the first link is the reading standards / competencies, because they kind of have been called both. And so Standard 6 is professional learning and leadership of our South Carolina Read to Succeed coaching competencies. So this is what this module will be focused around. So partnership principles. I would like to start our learning with a quote from Jim Knight. When coaches and teachers work together equally as partners, good things happen. This quote can be found in one of Jim Knight's early publications titled Unmistakable Impact, a Partnership Approach for Dramatically Improving Instruction. The partnership approach and principles are a theory claimed by Jim Knight. In his book, Unmistakable Impact, Jim describes his study in which 7 partnership principles were founded to be effective in professional learning and when coaching with adults. Since the publication of this book, he has addressed the partnership approach and principles in every book he has published thereafter, as well as in many articles and interviews. The partnership approach and principles are a cornerstone in Jim Knight's work and have added greatly to understanding the ways in which coaches can approach their work. I'd like to read aloud to you a scenario Jim shares in his book and his response. As I'm reading, I want you to think about what makes helping others, namely adults, complicated. Jim writes, during one of our instructional coaching institutes at the Kansas Coaching Project, a charming, warm-hearted leader from a struggling inner school said what many people have said to me in one way or another over the years. We can't wait. Our kids need to do better today. We can't wait to be nice to teachers. We can't do all this touchy-feely listening stuff. Our teachers need to get better now, or they need to be gone, because our kids deserve better. I am moved by her passion and her love for the children in her district, and I wholeheartedly agree that every student deserves nothing less than excellent instruction every day in every classroom. I also realize that instructional improvements would be much better if we could just give teachers a script to follow. But teachers are not workers on assembly lines, and they are not working with an inanimate object. Teachers are living, breathing, complicated young human beings. To bring about the improvements we hope to see, we need to recognize, in fact, honor the complexity of providing support within professional relationships. Professional learning fails when Professional learning fails when change leaders underestimate how complicated change can be. Just telling people what to do and expecting them to do it might work for simple tasks like stocking shelves in a grocery store, but such an approach is seldom motivating or effective for professionals. In education, effective professional learning must be grounded in an understanding of how complex helping relationships can be. Failing to understand the nature of helping relationship can doom leaders of change. Now, let's revisit the questions I had you think about while I was reading Jim's scenario and response. In your reflection journal, jot down in your journal why you think helping others is a complicated task based on your experiences as a coach thus far. And after you've jotted down, if you feel brave, you may unmute and share your thoughts because this is a real life situation. Would anyone like to share?
Jennifer, there's one in the chat that says not all are receptive of help and or change.
So true.
I think a lot of times they feel like you coming in to help means they failed in some way, so it brings defensiveness.
So I'll piggyback off of that. I truly believe that, all teachers are wonderful. And I know that everybody has days, and I've already had lots of remarks from other coaches and whatnot that, my views of that will change over time, but I don't want that to change. Like, I believe that all the people within our school came into this profession for a purpose and not just for a summer off or whatnot. So how do I, in moving forward, like, how do I be respectful that they don't want to be on the, defensive, but then also here I have something that might help you grow. So
Yes.
that fine line of, wanting to be respectful, but not being too sugary that, okay, this might need to be changed kind of deal.
Totally been there. Yes, ma'am.
I think too, if we think about our kids and backgrounds, and we're always preaching about how, we need to think about we're talking about ACERs and what is happening in their lives. Well, teachers, we don't know what's going on in home lives too. So that also adds complication in coaching, in that, sometimes they've got things going on at home in situations that, makes it difficult to be open for coaching.
Right. Yeah. I forget how many hours Jennifer Saravallo said, but it's so many hours of professional development before you will see a change, because teachers tend to go back to a comfort zone, and it's usually the way they were taught.
There's another one that says growing requires vulnerability. It takes time to develop trust so that adults will be vulnerable.
Yeah, it's scary to put yourself out there. Okay, we're going to move on to the partnership approach. Jim Knight believes how instructional coaches interact with others is as important as what they do. Let me read that again. How instructional coaches interact with others is as important as what they do. In a quote, he states, "The way we interact with others makes or breaks most coaching relationships. Even if we know a lot about content and pedagogy and have impressive qualifications, experience, or postgraduate degrees, people will not embrace learning with us unless they're comfortable with us." Jim Knight feels the partnership approach and its guiding partnership principles provide a conceptual model that coaches could adopt into their beliefs and practices. To define exactly what the partnership approach means, Jim Knight created a visual that defines the partnership approach by comparing the approach to the traditional top-down approach. On this slide, you will see a chart. On the left side is the traditional top-down approach. On the right side is Jim's idea of the partnership approach. Take a few minutes to read each column. Notice the differences between the two approaches. In your reflection journal, choose one or two differences and jot down your noticings, connections, and experiences, and even the implications of each. After you've done that, if you would like to chat some of your noticings or connections or implications, or if you want to just unmute yourself and chat. Speak into the mic.
I was thinking about the one that coaches do most of the thinking versus teacher does most of the thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like in a lot of the conversations that I've had or going into that a lot of times they kind of expect me to just come tell them what or how something's going to go instead of more of having a conversation and working through it. If they do have questions, they just want me to have answers.
Right.
That makes sense.
It does, because the other day I was debriefing with some teachers, and I said, "So tell me," I get them to talk first.
Mm-hmm.
I've had the same kind of situation lately that you were saying about the teacher doing most of the thinking with some of my mentees, and just trying to get them to tell me, what do you feel that you would like, more information about or would like me to model for you versus me going in and telling them. I think it is more authentic that way, and teachers have more ownership because they're the ones that know their students best.
Right. And they were brave enough to say it out loud.
Definitely.
Anybody else? Okay, we're going to move on. Some of you may have seen this before, coaching with dogs. I'm going to have to take this down so I can bring up the link. So as you watch it, What do you notice about the partnership between the dogs? What, E? Can y'all see this?
Yes, we
Can
can
y'all,
see
y'all
it.
can see it? Can you hear it?
Press play again.
I'm sorry, could you hear it?
No, I didn't hear anything.
Okay, I think I forgot to, I have to totally get out. I forgot about that. Sorry. Ugh. I have to unshare to do it. Present again. Ha 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 ha.
Okay, we still can't hear anything.
And I know what I forgot to do. My bad. I'm gonna get better at this eventually.
Okay, we can hear it now.
Come here, Daisy. Oh, you almost got it. Oh, it's okay. Come on. Simon will show you. See? See? Simon, go show her again. Go show her.
I've been waiting to see your sister for many, many years.
Are you the kid who stole my wig?
Yes, I'm Eli Lawson.
Oh my god, I might cry. That's so funny. Oh, you almost got it. Oh, come on. Daisy. Come on. Come on. Oh, sweetie. Simon's got you. Come on. Yay! You're almost down. Come on. Oh. Good girl. Yay! Good job.
So, what did you notice? What approach would
Before you vote, know who's on the ballot. Beware, right-wing Constitution Party candidate Dr. Bill Bledsoe.
So what did you notice? What approach was the dog using? Can y'all hear me?
Okay, we see in the chat, meeting the puppy where he was. Scaffolding, partnership, scaffolding, modeling, lots of modeling, encouraging, gradual release, model, okay, teach, encourages a puppy, did it on his own. Patience.
Lots of patience.
Modeling and encouraging. Repetition.
Okay.
All right.
Now we're going to move on. I'm not going to go back to the PowerPoint. I'm going to go to another type of coaching. This is coaching with cats. And let's see if y'all can see this. Can y'all see this?
Yes.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
Okay.
Love that one. All right, so what'd you notice? I see a ha ha ha. Okay. I don't know what you would call that.
It's called frustration.
Bird leaving the nest approach. That's right. Good job, Emily. I was thinking about the sink or swim approach, right?
So if you're thinking back to those two approaches, was that Jim Knight's model or was that more the top-down model?
That was a good luck to you model.
So take a moment to just reflect on these two types of coaching, between the coaching and the dogs and the coaching with the cats, things that you could maybe start doing more of, and maybe some things that you might feel like you want to do, but you know you can't.
So Stephanie says literally and figuratively the top-down model.
Yes, ma'am. So, what is a principle? In the last few slides, we learned about the partnership approach. Now let's learn about the 7 principles that guide a partnership and create the conditions for a successful partnership. Before I reveal the 7 principles, let's stop and think for a moment. In your journal, jot down what you think a principle is. What is a principle? And then add your thoughts to the chat. And if you ladies will just read a few of them out as they add them. And no cheating, no looking it up on the internet.
Guidelines to go by. Guiding statement that is believed by the group. Guides or rules to go by. Beliefs and behaviors. Guides to follow, a guiding point, a belief that you hold dear. A lot of similarities there. Guiding belief.
Okay, well, we're going to look to see what the dictionary says. According to the dictionary and other resources, a principle guides our behavior, our thoughts and actions. Ultimately, our actions are led by our principles. For example, if we say we are honest as one of our principles, we would live in an honest way, and our actions will reflect honesty at all times. So you can see that what y'all were saying matches up to these definitions of what a principle is. So, as coaches, if we don't know our principles, if we haven't carefully given thought to our principles, if we are wishy-washy for what we stand for, it is hard for us to accomplish what we want to accomplish. And that is Jim Knight, because he believes that understanding your principles is a #1 priority for being effective as a leader, coach, and teacher. So let that sink in. So now we're going to listen to Jim as he introduces his partnership approach and principles. And I'm going to go down again and pick this up so that you can watch this and hopefully hear it. So let me get out of here. I know it's a lot of going back and forth. I apologize. I'm going to have to unshare. Share. I hope that's right. I can't ever remember now which way it's going. So tell me if you can hear it.
Yes.
Yay.
Today, and over the next 7 weeks following this week, I want to talk about some ideas that stand at the heart of what we do, and they're what I call the partnership principles. It's important, I think, to think through not just what you do, but the principles that stand behind it. What's the way of being, as Christian van Nuremberg says, and what are the actions behind what we do? And I think if your actions don't line up with your expectations for your work, it's going to be a bit of a challenge. So I just wanted today just give you a quick overview of where these ideas came from, what the research was, and what I think the big issue is. And then we'll look at each week a different principle. The partnership principles really grew out of my academic work, starting back when I was a pretty crappy student. I had 2 years in a university and wasn't sure why I was there. I was taking courses, but I stumbled into a philosophy of education course. And that course changed my life. And one of the reasons it changed my life was this book. This is The Pedagogy That Pressed by Paulo Freire. I read this book as a 20-year-old, and what it said about positioning people as partners in learning, engaging in dialogue, seeing the other person as a person to be fully seen as a complete human being, really spoke to me as truth. And as you can see, almost every page looks like this. I've read the book multiple times. This is the original copy I got back in sometime like a long time ago, 70s. After this book, I set it aside and I started to study English and became an English teacher, worked in a community college. Actually thought I was going to be an English professor. But then I got fascinated by education and what worked and what didn't work. I started to do professional development, and people loved the materials that I shared, which came from the University of Kansas. I was living in Canada. But nobody implemented. And I became consumed with the issue of, well, how the heck do you get implementation? At that time, working at University of Toronto was Michael Fullan, probably the world's leading expert on educational change. So I took advantage of my guess a little bit. I went to the University of Toronto, took one of his classes, and then asked if I could do an independent study with him, and he graciously spent a lot of time with me, walking me through all of his work and other people's work. At that time, he was writing a great book called Change Forces, and I read parts of that book as it was being developed, and then he gave me some other things to read. For example, Peter Senge's Fifth Discipline came out in 1990. I think that's a seminal book in understanding how organizations function, but it also shared the idea of dialogue, which is the mode of discourse of a partnership. Senge's book I read, and I ended up reading other books along the way. I read, for example, Peter Block, who Michael got me thinking about. He had me read the book that came out before this, but when I found Stewardship and read it, it was almost as powerful as reading Paulo Freire's work. And what he had me thinking about now was the whole idea of partnership. And that led me to Riane Eisler. I was lucky enough to learn from her and work from her a little bit and do a couple workshops with her. And Riane had me I read everything she wrote, but this book in particular, The Chalice and the Blade, is really kind of making the anthropological case for partnership as opposed to a dominator society. Instead of winners and losers, let's function as partners, men and women equal in a relationship. But at the same time, Senge got me reading this book, as you can see, I've read it pretty carefully, William Isaac's book, Dialogue, a great book about the concept of dialogue. And in combination, these with many other books led me to articulate the partnership principles, which were first written in instructional coaching and then came out in Unmistakable Impact. So reading these books and many others about change, especially Michael Fullan's work and other people's work, I wanted to articulate a set of principles, but then I needed to figure out how to study them. So I did a study, and if you're reading this on the blog, there'll be a paper you can download that summarizes that research. And we did workshops. We used what's called a counterbalance design, and we had the same group get two different things, and they would get a similar kind of thing. So they both learned reading strategies. One was visual imagery, one was self-questioning. And so one group had the partnership approach in the morning and a more traditional fidelity approach in the afternoon, kind of a top-down way of communicating. And the second group had the top-down way in the morning and the partnership approach in the afternoon. In the morning group, the partnership approach went with self-questioning, and in the second group, the partnership approach went with visible imagery. So if there was a difference, it wasn't because of the strategy, it wasn't when we did it, it was because of the partnership approach, because we compared the partnership results with the fidelity approach. And what we found is when we took the partnership approach, and you can see this research in this graph here, they had 4 times as much likelihood of implementing. We said, which one now you've learned to use strategies, which one are you more likely to use? And 4 times as many people said they would do the partnership approach compared with the other one. And then when we looked at engagement, the scores were off the chart. And people just self-reported their level of engagement throughout the workshop. And when we took the partnership approach, engagement was astonishingly higher. And we looked at other things. How much did they learn? There was a statistically significant difference in people's learning, and there was a huge difference in how much people enjoyed the workshops when they were positioned as partners. We felt the data was pretty compelling, that we need to explore further what these principles mean, and the whole work I've done since then has been built on that. Coaching, intensive learning teams, impact schools, all that work goes back to the partnership issues. So what is the core idea here? Why is this a big, big issue? Well, to me, the way forward in schools is not to have more top-down treatment of teachers. We can't bully teachers into better schools. What we need to do is we need to treat teachers like professionals. To get the schools our kids deserve, we need to treat teachers like professionals. And I believe to treat teachers like professionals, we have to position them as partners. We have to work according to the partnership principles. Now, one of the principles is choice. So it'd be kind of funny if I said, you have to believe with this. You have no choice. You're going to have to look at each principle and say, do I or don't I agree with that? But I'll make my case. I'll share with you the ideas, and you're free to use these videos if you like, just to provoke discussion. But I hope to provoke discussion that leads to better schools for kids. Next week, equality.
I'm coming, I promise. So can you see the PowerPoint again?
Yes.
Okay, yay. All right, so he introduced how he came up with this partnership approach and the principles. And on your digital handout, just so you know where it is, this is something you can do for between now and next time. On the bringbacks for session number 3 for next time in November. If you see under module 2, it's got optional. You can watch the 7 partnership principle videos. That is a link to the videos on each principle. So if you want to dig into that more for your some of your homework before coming back to see what's interesting to you. And there's also an article that's called What Good Coaches Do, just so you know it's there, that connects to this video that he was discussing the other videos. So now, as we move forward, we will spend time learning about each principle. The image you see on this slide has a brief description of each principle. I believe you have a handout of that. And yes, under Module 2 and important links, it is the 3rd link, Partnership Principles Brief Description. So if you want to pull that up to read it, but you can also just look at the slide. Take a moment to read each principle and its description. Then in the chat, name 3 principles you feel strongly about and would like to do some more learning around.
We see feel strongly, reflection, dialogue, and choice. Dialogue and praxis, quality, reflection, reciprocity, voice, reflection, and dialogue, all of them.
Okay. Well, hopefully after our next activity, you might be able to narrow down what you're really interested in digging into. So our next thing, now hang on, we're going to try these breakout rooms again. Ignore that groups of 3 because I have already made the groups. But when you get into your breakout room, you want to nominate a timekeeper. And you're going to use, you can use your, whatever timer you have. You're going to spend 3 minutes per principal discussing the information on the handout, which there is a link on your digital handout under Module 2, Important Links. It is the chat room handout. So you may want to go ahead and open that up so you know what you're supposed to do when you're in there. Along the way, we have a Padlet. Also, right under that handout, there's a link for a Padlet. Your group needs to open that up so that you can type in what you're thinking along the way. And you can see, you can put your experiences, connections, examples, responses, whatever. And it says to be back in this main room, and you're going to have 25 minutes, but hang on, I'm not ready to let you go yet because I want to show you something, because this is what I've done. And I'm praying it's going to work. Can y'all see this?
Yes.
Can y'all? Okay. When you click on the breakout rooms link under Module 2, it should bring you to this form. I want you to ignore this top table. And hopefully, I've put you into rooms, and I went to the sign-in several times. So I've got 3 to 4 people in each group. So you find your name, see what room you're in, and then scroll down, and then you will click on the team meeting that you need to join. And hopefully you will go directly to that one. And Audrey, I just said you pick the one you want to go to. You might want to go to one that's just got 3, which would be, I think, D or E. C, D, or E, maybe. So, but it doesn't matter. So I'm going to hold my breath and pray it works. So find which room you're in, then go all the way down to where you see the link that says join Microsoft Teams under that room that you're in. Ignore that top block. I'm gonna highlight what you need to not look at. I'm gonna make it, there we go, you can't see it anymore. So if everybody will go, I will start my timer for 25 minutes. You have your handout that you know what you're supposed to do. And we will return in 25 minutes. The link is on the digital handout under Module 2, where on the side it says Important Links. It has the handout, it has the breakout room, and the Padlet. They're like the last 3 links under Module 2. You have to be sure you're in the Module 2 where it says Important Links, because that's where the handouts are. And it won't let you go to the page. Anybody else having a problem?
All right. Would you like for me to, I'll try. Would you like,
Okay.
okay, and see what happens. All right.
Okay, and Rebecca, if you go under module 2 where it says important links, you see the standards and competencies, you see the partnership approach chart, partnership principles brief description, then you got breakout rooms, chat room handout, and chat room Padlet. Can you get to it, Sandy?
I'm getting ready to try.
Okay. Okay, we need to go in there. Okay, can do that. I'm just gonna start in A.
Okay, Jennifer, are you still here? She must have popped out. All right, I was able to get in A, so I'm assuming everything works. All right, for those of y'all still in this main room, do you need some help or?
I still don't see the link.
Okay, Fonda, you mean the link to get there?
Yes.
It's
yes.
at the
like
very
when I-
bottom. It's at the very bottom of that handout where your name is. All right, so let me I'm gonna pop it in the chat just
Okay.
because, yeah.
Because I'm wondering if I'm looking at the wrong handout. 'Cause I didn't see it before, but when I'm looking on the handout that was at the beginning of our session and I go down to like all module 2s, I don't see anything that has breakout links or.
All right, look in the chat. She said she had to, somebody had to reload it and then look again, but I put it in the chat. Click on the
Okay.
chat and then go to the bottom.
Okay.
So we know it's working.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm in both rooms. So should I just leave this, because I'm like hearing double and it's all crazy.
It just didn't work. Then leave this one because you've got the link to come back.
Okay. All right. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay. So Fonda, you're still here.
Yeah, I'm still, and I'm looking. I'm going down and I see the breakout sessions, but I don't, and you're going by which column your name's in
Here's
because
what
I
I
don't see my name.
All right, let me look and see if she left you off. I mean, it's possible.
I feel like I've been like a technological dysfunction today because my internet went down and then I'm piggybacking off of my phone right now.
She left you off.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna give you, I want you to, are you at the handout now?
Yes, I am.
All right, go to room D or E and go in there.
Okay. I'll go to D.
or E.
Okay.
Well, shoot. Okay, let me look at Padlet.
Lord, this drive me crazy.
I think it's working.
So we got 2 people still in here that didn't go to a room.
Okay, so uh
I'm gonna look to see if their name's on that list.
all right. I need for you to go to the Padlet and see if you can add a comment under dialogue.
Okay, wait a minute.
If you get a chance.
When they sign in this thing, it sure does make things go way down.
Mhm.
Okay, Padlet.
Yeah, I added comment. I added boxes under choice, voice, and reflection. And that way they would just have to click add a comment. But what I really need you to do is to go under dialogue and click the plus sign and see if you can add.
I don't see a plus sign.
Not under dialogue.
Or praxis or reciprocity.
Okay, then I'm going to do add a comment. And that should work. Now, do you see it if you reload?
Yeah, do it under praxis and reciprocity too.
Okay. I don't know why that didn't work. Okay, now that's all up.
Yeah, you got it. Thank you. So,
Although I only see comments on the first one.
yeah, well, I think they just were getting started when I
Okay.
went in there, so that's probably why. Because they were like deciding who was going to type on the Padlet and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So are those 2 people still in the room with us?
I don't think so.
Well, there's a ES, Erica Smith.
Erica, are you here?
Because I'm looking to see if she's on the list. She's not.
Fonda wasn't on the list. I told her to go in D or E. So you need to add Fonda's name if we decide to use this again.
She needs to sign in.
Okay.
That's where I got them from.
Okay. She's had some technical difficulties today.
Yeah. Well, can you sign her in?
How do you do that?
You go to the digital handout and.
Oh, let me look and see if she's on there.
That's where I cut and pasted from.
Yeah. All right, let me make sure I'm not wrong. All right, I'm looking at the sign in and I see Literacy Specialist Interventions and MTS Cherokee Charter Academy. Oh, she wrote down what she was underneath it. I see.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take that line off because we don't need all that. And I'm going to put Fonda. Fonda.
See, that's where I found everybody's names right there.
We need to just remind them to do it.
I did before we took a break so that they would do it because I told them I was getting ready to put the teams together and some names were missing.
I'll tell her. I'll tell her that's why. I mean, I know you did.
But she was in and out, so she may have missed that. That's the one thing about Google. It doesn't fix capital letters in the middle of things.
Okay.
And I downloaded the I downloaded the attendance, and I'll do that again after lunch, so that we can cross-reference. And
All right, so I'm looking. All right, Erica Smith is the literacy coach. She's supposed to be in a room. You want to go check and see if she's in the room?
okay,
It doesn't say she's on hold, but just go check and see if she's in.
okay, but I looked and I didn't see her name as one of the.
I'll just pop in the room and see if she's in there.
She should, yeah, she should be in C. So I just wanted to know where to go.
Okay.
Yeah, she was in there.
Okay.
I heard one group saying that when they leave this group, like if they go to that other link, they can still hear talking from the main group.
Yes, I told one girl to leave.
Yeah. So Stephanie said she just had to leave, and then she just goes back to her email to come back in.
Right. And that's what I told her to do.
But that's a pain.
That's not how it should be.
Mm-mm. Marie, are you there? Or is that just your picture?
I am here. I got all three of y'all going, the Midlands, the Upstate, and the Low Country, all going at the same time on 3 different devices.
Are you not crazy?
Yeah, I'm a little bit crazy.
But you know, Marie, I hope they're not having as much trouble as we are with breakout rooms.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I think that y'all need to not use Teams for this. They're not. They're
That's
using,
right.
both of them are using Zoom, and
That's right.
and I know that OSL is using Zoom in their things. So I don't
But
see
you
why
need,
y'all
you know,
can't use
well,
Zoom.
but Quincy made a big old push for Teams and made us feel like we had to use it.
And Marie, we don't have a membership because it's expensive, and you can only do 45 minutes.
Well, maybe they're letting it last longer. We need to find out. But Teams is not working
It's shown nothing.
easily. It's not working easily.
I'm sorry, I just kicked myself out accidentally and got back in. But I was saying that they the other departments are using Zoom, and I think we can revisit this. The other 2 cohorts that I'm watching over here.
Yeah, they
are
told me
on
that they were going to, but I
Well,
just
see,
felt,
some of them have their own membership, and we don't. We've been using the free, and the free only is 45 minutes. So it'd be nice if we could have something purchased so that we don't get bumped off.
Okay, well, that's something that we need to, where's my Quincy list?
yeah. I don't think that, double check on that. Maybe send an email to all of us and ask if somebody purchased Zoom, because I don't think that's the case.
I think Ramona buys just about everything.
She does, but I don't know that Myron does.
Well, Jennifer, Ricky probably did.
Well, let's just make sure, because I don't know that that's true or not. So we just need to see if they are cutting us off after 45 minutes. Obviously, if they didn't pay for it, they're not.
But they may be doing, who knows? They may have to do each module with somebody else's Zoom. So you're having to re-invite.
They only have one Zoom link.
Okay, well, we'll talk to Sonia Ramsey, because she said she would show us how. We don't know how to do Zoom breakout rooms either, but she'll show us before next month. But this is just too hard for our people to get to.
Well, you know what we did at our last meeting where we set up the team, we set up separate Teams meetings,
Yeah.
and just created a document and copied and pasted the link into the document, like group 1, group 2, group
That's
3.
what we did for
And then
today.
remember, I copied that. I simply copied it and dropped it in the chat box for each group. So you could try doing that, but now what they would have to do is not exit out of this.
Yeah.
But they would join the other, and it would put this one on pause. Like
Well,
I
that's
see
what-
they've got little pause mark. The
That's
little
what we've
pause
been
symbol
doing. That's what we did today, because that's what Sonia showed me how to do.
to make separate meetings.
Yeah, and that's how I did it. It's like for them, I put them in certain ones to get them out there and back. But some of
Gotcha.
them still had trouble because we tried it first just with the link and a handout, and that didn't work. So we copied and pasted it. So then I went and got an invitation for this time. So it should take them right there, but it still didn't just immediately work.
And it didn't pause them. Some of them could hear us talking
I can
in
hear
their
people
team.
talking now. Can you hear people talking now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you
But
might
that
hear
might
people
be
talking
Marie.
because I got, let me turn
Yeah,
this to
that's
hold on.
that's
Oh,
Marie.
that's from your thing.
That's me. Yeah, that's me and the other groups. Yeah.
So Bettina, you're back.
Do you hear it now?
I am.
No.
So what Marie was saying is the other two groups that are meeting now are using Zoom.
Okay.
And Sonia told us that she didn't use Teams, but that might have come from me. I just felt like there was a lot of pressure being.
No, I
There
pushed for
was.
it. She
There
did
was, but
say
I
to
think-
do it.
But I think
Yeah.
that's being rethought now.
Okay.
Yeah, there was.
You know I'm a rule follower, Marie.
Well, I mean, we got to do what, eventually, if Teams gets a little better and works out some of these kinks, then fine. But
Until
right, until it does, I don't see a problem with us using Zoom. And I want to say I was part of a conversation where they were talking about OSL uses Zoom, and then another division uses Zoom, and they're not deviating.
Good.
Yeah, because I brought that up when we were told to do Teams, and I said, well, the standards people get to use Zoom.
Right. So I think the last I heard, Quincy was going to look into it, but then we haven't discussed it any further. So
now you have firsthand experience, and you can see all of it going on at the same time and how difficult it is. And a lot of it has to do with whether they are signed in as teams or not. It's about permissions and I don't know.
It's just hard, and with people having different platforms they're working from it, it's just Zoom always works. Every time I do Zoom,
presenting on Friday, Quincy is presenting to a leadership thing that one of the divisions is doing. I guess it's where Walter Clark works. Anyway, she's doing a presentation for his group on Friday in Teams. And so she'll get the experience.
Well, will Taylor be there to help her though? See, if you got Taylor, you don't have any problem.
Yeah, Taylor, and I'll be there too. And what I've done is done exactly what I said, because she wants to break them into groups, and so I've made 3 separate team meetings.
Yeah. I had 5 different ones. I had 5 different meetings I made and put their names under which one I wanted them to go to.
But I like the idea with Zoom that it's random groups, because that's good for them too. And then it's really seamless, appears to be when you do it. It's just poof, So I'm hoping we can get that permission.
Well, how are the other groups getting past the 45 minutes?
Well, that we got to find out.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're going to figure that out too.
Okay, y'all, in about 3 minutes, we need to bring them back. So I'll tell you if y'all will help me go tell them to come back.
You want to give me a room?
You take A and B.
Okay.
Bettina, you'll take C and D, and I'll do E.
Okay.
I think E may be back because I see Audrey back, but that doesn't mean she's here. She could be both places.
All right, I see the Padlets being filled up. That's good.
Okay. And you're gonna have to look at it because I'm gonna have the PowerPoint thing.
Okay.
on.
I got to find it.
And we'll tell them 2 minutes.
Oops. Not it. Okay, I gave him the 2-minute warning.
Okay, thanks. Can you see my slide?
I see you.
Oh, you see me. Well, you shouldn't see me. I'm supposed to be sharing, okay?
No, you're not.
That's not good. I'm gonna hide me and then share.
Okay,
Now,
I can.
good.
All right, now you want me to read the Padlet?
When, yeah, I'm gonna tell them this direction. You read, be able to see the Padlet and the chat box, I guess. Well, one of you look at one and one look at the other.
All right, I'll look at Padlet and Bettina can look at the chat box.
Okay.
See, we needed 3 people.
Uh-huh. But we're gonna be finished on time.
Good.
If they'll come back, it's time. Tell me when you think it looks like most people are back.
Few more minutes. Yeah, we got to wait a minute.
See, this was good though. They had a good chunk of time to be away to do something instead of listening
Yeah, it's good.
once they got there.
We have 7 on hold.
Well, those of you that have returned, look at the Padlet and read through the responses and be prepared to share out what you're thinking. And you can go ahead and start putting in the chat box the partnership principle that caused the most conversation in your group and why. If you're just returning, look at the Padlet and read through the responses and be prepared to share out what you're thinking now. And while you're looking and waiting, also in the chat box, type the partnership principle that caused the most conversation and why.
All right, so Wendy Sizemore says, dialogue, we talked about the difficulty of finding balance there, getting others to participate enough in conversations without dominating conversations.
Anybody else?
Several of them were related. We also talked a lot about dialogue and its relation to reflection and reciprocity.
We talked a lot about year one coaching. We have to do a lot of this, and it's really a lot of building relationships year one, because people have, last year's coach or who previous coaches, that, that they're used to that way of coaching, or whether good, the bad, so that year one is really, really just building relationships.
Yeah. That is, and your book that you're reading for book study will support that thinking.
Okay, Erica says voice. When people know they have a voice, they are more likely to respond and achieve. Teachers need to know we are in a partnership and not evaluating them.
Amen. Okay, I'm going to move on because we're going to run a little into lunch, but we'll keep this conversation going. We hope you enjoyed digging deep into the principles and thinking about your current connections and experiences to each principle as a first-year reading coach. On this slide, as I heard some of you say, the principles are grouped. The first three principles, equality, choice, and voice, are considered the mindset principles. The next three principles, reflection, dialogue, and reciprocity, are considered the interaction principles. And praxis is considered the change principle. So take a moment to think about why Jim Knight decided to group the principles in this manner. You can jot in your journal if you like. So as we continue to look at the same image, Jim Knight didn't intend for all the principles to be considered equal. In fact, he considers the mindset principles, the principles of equality, choice, and voice, to be the most important. In fact, he goes as far as saying, if a coach doesn't live by the first three principles, the other four principles will be impossible to uphold. For example, if a coach does not live by the principle of voice, the principle of dialogue is impossible, because in a true dialogue, everyone has a voice. When a coach doesn't believe in giving their coachee voice, the conversations a coach would have with a coachee would sound more like a monologue versus a true dialogue where everyone's voice is honored. Here is a quote from Jim Knight. On those occasions when I felt unsuccessful as a coach, one of these principles had been violated or missed. We want you to think back to a recent coaching opportunity you felt was effective or successful. Jot down each evidence related to each partnership principle. And we're going to let you do that during lunch. Did someone have a question or something they wanted to say? I'll leave this slide up during lunch so that you can, as you have time, you can do this. So now, here's a quote from Blaine Lee, the author of The Power Principle. Blaine states, "The principles you live by create the world you live in. If you change the principles you live by, you will change your world." So, before we go for lunch, we want you to select 1 or 2 principles you would like to develop or strengthen in your coach and coachee partnership. Also jot these down in your journal so that you will be reminded of ways to strengthen them. But add to the chat box 1 or 2 principles you'd like to develop and or strengthen. And if Sandy or Bettina will read them to me as they come up.
Equality and voice. Again, equality and voice. Audrey had said the mindset really is our coaching way of being, those first 3.
That's right.
Dialogue and praxis. I want to strengthen the reflection and practice, equality and choice, equality and voice. So they're choosing.
Okay. So our learning targets for this module were to define the partnership approach, identify effective partnership principles that support the coach-coachee impact, explain the 7 partnership principles, reflect on what partnership principles you value and practice when partnering with coachees, and adopting effective partnership principles to guide your work and others as a reading coach. So we are getting ready to stop for lunch, but I'm going to take it back to this slide so that as you're eating or when you come back, you can add to your journal not only the 1 or 2 that you really want to focus on, but thinking about what opportunities you felt you've been effective or successful with these. So we will return from lunch at 12:30. We only went 4 minutes over. Yay. Thank you for working with us this morning. So we will see you back at 12:30 and I will stop the recording. And if anybody has any questions, you're more than welcome to hang around. Let me stop the recording. Where is it? Okay.